Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World. West Alabama, right here in downtown Northport. We are 2 miles away from Bryant-Denny Stadium. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter at Joe Gaither6 and at BamaCentral on the YouTube channel. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral as you search your popular podcast platforms. Of course, we are a proud part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network. You can follow our other BamaCentral Broadcasting Network podcasts, Blue Collar Unplugged with Matthew Gibson, Blake Byler, and Jacob Pickle. Those guys talking all things Alabama basketball. You already heard our Monday episode celebrating Alabama's 27-24 win over the Auburn Tigers. And look, it was an insane victory for Alabama. So one of the major things that always happens with these crazy wins is people on social media have their videos and have their, this is what my reaction was to that game. And if you were in my household, you would have seen a delayed reaction because I was typing and trying to do work. But I definitely stood up and gave a big fist pump and dance with my dog for about a couple of minutes. But there's no one who's getting more excitement or more popularity, more following than our friend Josh. Joshua, you can follow him on Twitter at IamJGlaze on X Machine, and he is a big Alabama fan. And we're going to get to know Josh. Josh, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. This is overwhelming a little bit, but I love it. I actually put this right here so you guys can see it too. Actually, I got to point this way. Yeah. But that Roll Tide Nation on TikTok is my page. We're 107,000 followers and growing. So it's amazing, dude. And I'm in awe at how this video blew up the way it did.
Well, make sure you follow my man Joshua at Roll Tide Nation on the TikTok machine. Make sure you said 100,000 right now. Let's get
107,000, or it might be 8 now. It might actually be 8 now.
There we go. Let's get him up. Let's get him up to 250K before the SEC championship game. So make sure you go follow him at Roll Tide Nation on the TikTok machine. And so I want to talk to my man Josh. First off, tell us where you're from, how long you've been an Alabama fan, what do you do outside of TikTok? But and then we'll get into the game. Just tell us just a little bit about yourself real quick.
I got you, man. I'm 31 years old as well, guys. I'm from Midland City, Alabama, but I commute to Dothan, which is right next to Midland City. And I work at Chick-fil-A. I'm a kitchen director, basically the kitchen supervisor back of the house. We're a $10 million store, very, very, very big in sales. A lot of stuff going on here, kind of like Bama, baby. That's how I run the kitchen. I run it like Nick Saban.
We love Chick-fil-A, the Lord's Chicken. So thank you so much for doing that. Chicken, you are doing a great work with that then.
Right.
And so living right here in the state, in the great state of Alabama, been an Alabama fan all your life, 31, right? Okay, so you've grown up in the Nick Saban era, really. I mean, you had just a small taste of the mics.
Yeah, double mics. I remember Dennis, both mics, and Dennis, both mics. I met Mike DeBose actually as a kid in Panama City one time.
And so this video, the first thing that many people see the first thing that many people see, and you can once again follow them at Roll Tide Nation on TikTok for this and many other videos. The first thing that pops through my head always is, okay, that's staged. Okay, that's an act. Okay, that's not real. And so I wanted to throw it right at you, impress you a little bit. What goes through? Do you just set your phone up in the middle of every single game, or is it the Auburn game, or is it, I'm going to put on a show, or is it real? Is it real emotion? Because you're not only just, obviously the Jalen Milroe play is worthy, absolutely worthy of the reaction, but it's not just the Jalen Milroe play. It's about 2 minutes of just throughout the entire game, some of the bigger, more impactful plays. You're going nuts, or you'll Roll Tide.
So I'm glad you're giving me this opportunity so my video's viral and people judge me off of 2 minutes and I don't get to speak my case. So this is going to be really great here. Thank you. So everybody has said, well, not everybody, some people have said it's staged. To that, I'll tell everybody, my wife is the Meba. That's my wife. If you go to her page on TikTok, it's at Meba_. You'll find all the videos she's recorded all year. I never once even asked her to do this. We've been married since 2020, been together since 2016.
Congratulations.
So she's seen me, appreciate it. She's seen me be crazy from day one. But she thought this year we decided for for mine and her relationship, we wanted to watch football season with just me and her this year, not have friends and people over, and me and her build some camaraderie for it. So we did, and she decided to film me because I'm crazy. And this is why I stay home, because I am wild for Alabama football. My dad, actually, it came from him, man. My family growing up, it's in our blood. Saturdays, baby, it's Roll Tide. And everybody talks about my phone posted up right here. That was me live on my TikTok. It's not for like anything to do with faking a setup, man. Like, I was live. There's people that would screen record me that have the receipt of my real live reaction. And people from my hometown they've come on my posts on Facebook. They're more of my hometown people on Facebook, and they've came together. They're like, dude, y'all just don't know Josh. This is Josh. Like, this is what he does. It doesn't matter. Alabama could play Chattanooga, and I'm face up at the TV. Like, I'm just how I am. I love the energy, man. Huge fan. Yeah, there was some colorful language. I was hype. You know, people talked about that a little bit. I was hype, man. You know, it is what it is, man.
Well, I mean, Jalen Milroe kind of said sort of similar things today at his Monday press conference when he was asked about his colorful language after the game and maybe talk about a Heisman Trophy. He was like, "Well, it was just an emotional moment for me, so I really am focused on the team." So let's just talk about this season for you, then, Josh.
Yeah.
What has been your thought process going into the year? Obviously, you had the quarterback battle as the backdrop. Everybody was on, "Oh, I'm Team Milroe, I'm Team Simpson, I'm Team Buckner, or I'm just Team whatever Alabama." Roll Tide. You had kind of the split factions in the Alabama fan base, and then you have obviously the first 3 weeks not go so hot, and the team has grown up from there. So take me as a true diehard, living and dying Alabama fan, right there from Dothan, Alabama, right outside of Dothan, Alabama.
Yep.
What is your thought process on this season?
Coming into the season, obviously we lose Bryce Young, we lose Will Anderson in the draft. So obviously, you're down some guys that carried your team a lot last year. So there's some question marks. But this is where I told every Alabama fan on every live I've done, anytime I've talked to a Alabama fan for the season, I said, hey, who's our coach? Nick Saban, right? Okay, I trust who he puts on the field. And Nick Saban showed everybody in the USF game. He ain't going to say it probably, but I know it. You played them two to shut every Alabama fan up that thinks they know how to coach. And I thank you, Saban, but thank you. Thank you. Because without Milroe, we lose 4 games this year. Easy. Probably, maybe, might be more. Milroe's our X factor. Now, in the Texas game, everybody brings that up. Look what he did against Texas. Their defense was so great. He made 2 bad throws that turned into 10 points. They got a field goal, a touchdown. How much did Texas beat us by? 10 points. So, if you play that game now, I think Milroe's learned. I think it's a different game. Now, I do give credit to Texas. They came to our house and they beat us. You got to give them credit there. I do 100%. But I think, throughout the year, have you seen this team kind of build? And Jalen Milroe can't throw. He's 3rd in efficient passing now. Like, at the end of the year, 3rd in a pass efficiency. Like, that's just mind-blowing for people to be like, he can't throw. And then the dude throws a Tom Brady to a dime in the back of the end zone, man. And Isaiah Bond, dude, shout out to you. You ain't get enough credit either, dude. That was a pure catch, like pure hands. You created when he everybody's saying he pushed off. He didn't push off. He kind of leaned in to create that 3-4 feet right there area for him to kind of come back and get the ball. And it's amazing to see that because that's your receiver actually working for your quarterback. It's not him just standing out there like, yeah, make the perfect throw. I'm here. He's actually creating space for his quarterback. So throughout the season, man, we've progressed. I love it. Die-hard fan. Even if we lost 5 games, I'd still be screaming Roll Tide. I'm a die-hard fan, man. And I just think we're going in the right direction now.
So you talk about being a diehard fan, and you talk about, I'd be in front of my TV if Alabama was playing Chattanooga as they were last week. Where do you put the Auburn game as far as rivalries? We're going to go. Alabama is going to go into a new era of SEC where the schedule's still up in the air. You're not really going to see everybody so often, or maybe you don't know who's going to be all on your schedule. Is Auburn number 1? Is that what made you go so crazy on Saturday night, or is it Tennessee, LSU, somebody else, or what's the ranking of Joshua's Alabama rivals?
So I'm definitely going Auburn because that's just my personal opinion I've raised. If we go 0-11, if we beat Auburn, we're okay. That's just what I've been taught my whole life. I'm definitely going Auburn. Tennessee. is 2 for sure. I don't like that orange. That's that throw-up orange. You can't sit next to it. Looks like a garbage truck worker convention, like my boy said. But I'm just not a Tennessee would be 2 for me right there. If I got to go 3, I'm probably going. People's going to be upset about this, but recency bias. I got to go Georgia. We've played for too many natties. You know, the history with Auburn and Tennessee goes back further than Alabama, Georgia. But the natties recently and the SEC championships that's led to natties over the past 10 years dated back to, 2012 when they almost beat us with 3 seconds left in the game. That could have been a whole different national championship picture in 2012. So it's one of those things that I think Georgia is probably our 3rd, 4th LSU. And if I got to go 5th, it's a tough one. Ole Miss has played us tough somewhat with Lane Kiffin. Kind of leaning in the SEC, kind of a Ole Miss more. I could say Florida, but we just play them more, So it's kind of one of those things that
we love Lane Kiffin on this show. We love Lane Kiffin. Absolutely.
Oh, I love Lane, dude. I'm a huge Lane fan, bro. If Nick retires, I say give me Lane. I'm okay with that. Everybody can say what they want, and I get it. We had an argument on my live the other night a debate, not an argument, but people saying this and that about him. But 10 and 2 seasons back to back now, or is it 3? I think it's 2 or 3.
I think it's 2.
It's the first time that's been 2. When's the last time that's been done at Ole Miss?
He's got them going in the right direction, certainly, for sure.
Yeah, they are.
So take us back into your living room on Saturday night. You guys can all follow him at Roll Tide Nation on TikTok and at I am Jake Lays on X/Twitter machine. This is Josh, and he went viral on Saturday for his reaction. Alabama was like about to book the Peach Bowl tickets, about to get ready to go to the Peach Bowl. What's the thought process right before? You got 3rd and 30, you got 3rd and 20 something, and then obviously you get 4th and 1. You get 4th and 1 where you make it on the little toss play to Roydell Williams, and then
beautiful play too.
The bad snap to Seth McLaughlin, and then the play. So that last 2 minutes, take us. Obviously, what did TikTok not see?
So, listen, something I don't know if anybody saw, and I didn't see it until about an hour before I got on your show, because Funny Mane, I don't know if you know who Funny Mane is, but he posted this a little bit ago on X, and he said, watch number 10. And if you watch Auburn on that play with the bad snap, number 10 comes in, leans down, and claps, and he snaps the ball simultaneously. I just wondered why he did that snap, because Milroe's hands was like up, mid-motion up, like why he didn't even clap, like, I was like, where did that come from? So I'm like, the refs for this game one was trash. I want to say that for both sides, not just us, for them too. Like, it was bad, horrible. Going into it, I think that I was very, very nervous when that ball went behind him, man. Not gonna lie, I didn't say we're gonna lose. I never say that until it's completely over. But I was like, man, this does not look good. And I wasn't like, upset, mad, or anything at that point. I was just kind of down. I was like, dang it. And then I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute, we can't do this. We got it. And I just remember getting super focused, and like, I'm very superstitious, man. I dial into this game like I am in the game. I like, that's just how I am. And I got down in the game. I'm like, all right, Milroe, you got this, baby. You got this. And ball went back. I saw they only blitzed 2 and kept a spy up top. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh, dude, no, that's smart. Yeah, do that. Please do that. You're about to let the quarterback stand back there on the 30-yard line, and he's going to be able to throw a dime if he can get open. And what happened? I mean, dude, that we ain't going to – if Bama goes on and wins a natty after this and beats Georgia, wins a natty, that play will be more magnified than you can imagine probably, because – dude, next time anybody's on a football field, go to the 36-yard line, grab a football, and try to throw it to that back pylon like that. And it looks a lot easier than it actually is. A lot easier than it is.
It's a laser beam, man. And what I said on Monday for my Monday show was that basically he's hitting the keyhole from 40 yards. I mean, really, it's a 7, 8, 48, 51-yard throw right in that range with the air yardage and everything.
Yep.
And just like the inappropriate words that you used on your video were the same words that everyone was using, because I thought that in my living room, I thought that's so bleeping stupid. I mean, and not only is it just like, yeah, Roll Tide, but it's just so bleeping stupid for Auburn to play the defense that they played.
I did not get it.
Stupid for the 1 in a million throw, the 1 in a million throw that shouldn't work on 4th and 31, and the 1 in a, and then the catch really was, it was nice, but it wasn't like an improbable catch. The throw was just sit back there, and much like we go crazy for long 3-pointers, it was much like, it was very, very similar to an even longer with even higher stakes shot. So just incredible. So before we get you out of here, Josh, I want to know your thoughts on the Georgia game. Alabama is heading into a huge, in Alabama, a 4.5, 5-point underdog, depending on wherever you're looking.
I love it.
Vegas odds. You haven't lost over there in Atlanta. I think Nick Saban is 7-0 in Mercedes, but you lost the last game you played against Georgia, 33-18 in the national championship game. So it's been you got sort of weird revenge on your mind. A lot of those players haven't, were freshmen during that time, so much of the team doesn't know about that game as much, except from watching it on television. Give us your thoughts, the Alabama fans' hardcore perspective. Follow him at Roll Tide Nation and hear his thoughts on the Georgia game the rest of the week.
Here. So guys, man, this one's a hot take right here. And I had this take before the Auburn game. So when I say this, y'all are going to be like, dang, you're like copying what happened in the Auburn game. It's similar to how I've projected the past 2 weeks of how Alabama and Georgia's going to be. It's going to be a great game. Carson Beck has been sacked 7 times this year. Only 7 times. That means his O-line is playing great. He's not being touched. So they've played upright for most of the year, right? What happens when you hit Carson Beck in the mouth? What happens when you apply some pressure and he has to make a throw with a guy in his face, breathing down his neck that just hit him last play and his back's still aching? You see what I'm saying? You got to pressure him and make him make bad throws or bad decisions for Alabama to win. And then if you want to look at Alabama on defense aside for that, Chris Braswell, I believe he's still top 5 on quarterback pressure, and Dallas Turner is like 1 or 2 at quarterback pressure. So having those 2 guys are amazing for us, but we had those guys got to be guys for us Saturday. And my projection, I think it's going to be 34-31. Bama gets it at the end. I think it's going to be 31-27 late in the 4th. Milroe's going to leave us a drive, and I think it's going to be not in the last second. It's kind of like the Auburn one, but I think it'll be a minute or 2. We'll score, go up, and I think our defense will hold us out there and get the dub. SEC champs 2023. And I think if Bama, another hot take here, if Bama beats Georgia, I'm not going to give you my top 4 because it don't matter. They're not letting Nick Saban sit at home, and Alabama sit at home with 1 loss and an SEC champ. Y'all can twist it whatever way they want to, but at that point, it's politics. Nick Saban ain't sitting at home, dude. And people can get mad about that, but it is, dude. And Nick Saban will not sit at home. Somebody's going to get mad and get left out. But Nick Saban won't sit at home for that, man. It just won't happen. And that's my take on it.
That would shock me to death if the SEC champion were left out in either fashion, whether it's Georgia or Alabama. It would shock me. Josh, tell everybody where they can find you, what all you do on your TikTok channel. Make sure you follow him at IamJGlaze on the X Machine and at Roll Tide Nation on TikTok. Tell everybody what you're about and really just kind of last thoughts for our audience real quick.
So, guys, I have my TikTok page is based around us fans of all SEC, Big Ten, all over, college football fans, even a little bit of NFL we throw in there. But my live shows, I have a lot of people in Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn guys come in, Georgia, LSU, and we all talk college football calmly. Nobody gets crazy. I will boot you if you do. It's just football. But we talk football. I would love to have anybody on, especially Alabama fans. We have an Alabama segment I do with just me, and I kind of get on there and bring other Bama fans up, and we'll talk about what we think on this. I'll let them know my insides. I have a few little insides on things I keep up with. And I study things. Not only do I just watch Twitter or whatever when Bama posts, I go look things up. Like I told you about the Carson Beck, I looked that up. I didn't get that stat from nobody else. Things like that. I'm a very in-depth fan. So when somebody says I'm fake, it does kind of tick me off a little bit because I spend time a lot of time into what I do, and it's fun, man. I love it, and college football is amazing, and I really appreciate you, Joe, having me on, dude. You are awesome, dude. This show is awesome, and I love it.
Well, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for your time, giving us some of your insight, and keep doing what you're doing at Roll Tide Nation on the TikTok machine. And we'll be following the rest of the year. SEC Championship game on Saturday. We'll see how he feels. What do you say, 34-31? Alabama wins, and we'll see what happens the rest of the week. Josh, thanks so much for your time. Follow him at I am Jake Lays on the X Machine and at Roll Tide Nation on the TikTok.
All right. We'll see you guys.
That's Josh joining us, and you saw his video. It went crazy. If you don't have TikTok, you still saw his video, much like I did. It popped up on my Twitter machine. It popped up on my Facebook, everywhere, my old man self, on my Instagram Reels. You can follow me at Joe Gaither 6. So that's going to do it for our portion right here on the Tuesday edition. I'm going to come back, and we'll keep it rolling on Tuesday on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, right here in downtown Northport. Welcome back into the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. Watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. You just heard from our friend Josh. Once again, you can follow him at I am Jay Glaze on the X Machine and Roll Tide Nation on TikTok, so you can check out all his Alabama videos and reactions to all the games. But now we're going to continue our program with the 1992 National Championship fullback, great football player here at the Capstone, and you can hear him locally each and every day, a weekday, right there on Tide 100.9. Martin Houston on the Martin Houston Show, 6 to 7 a.m. on Tide 100.9, and on Sundays leading Harvest Church over here in Coker/Northport. Martin, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Doing well, Joe, and glad to be in with you, sir.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. Really excited to have you so far. I've been enjoying your program with your son, Xavier, this football season, and enjoying your Mondays with my friend Kennington Smith of The Athletic. So that's been a lot of fun. But I know we're going to just do kind of a recap and look ahead to the SEC Championship. So with that in mind, tell us your kind of thoughts on the story of the season. We're here at the last week, championship week. You've seen all 12 regular season weeks. What's been the Martin Houston, this is what I thought in August and July, and this is what I think now in November?
Well, I can tell you was at the beginning of the season and off season, just, kind of frustrated with Saban and Reese's refusal to go ahead and name Jalen the quarterback. And very, very frustrated with that, and told my listening audience the only reason there is a competition at quarterback is that the coaching staff is making it a competition. If you go all in with the type of offense we ran, prior to Auburn, the previous 3.5 games, starting with Tennessee in the second half, there would be no contest between Jalen Milroe and the other guys. Maybe Lonergan may jump up into second place in that scenario. But the reality of it is, I was frustrated with that. And then the frustration continued the first few games of the season. And, coming out of Texas and South Florida, I knew the team had some talent, but I didn't think I didn't know if the coaching staff could adjust to get this team where the talent could get them. They did, and so now I look at it and go, hey, this team has a legit shot, legit chance of being one of the top 4 teams in the country. So very excited about that. But because of what I saw last Saturday, Joe, I go back to, can this coaching staff get it done against a team with equal talent? We've beat these other teams because we've been more talented. When it's come down to coaching, and I would say our last 3 losses, I should say, both games last year, Tennessee outcoached us offensively. LSU outcoached us. Texas outcoached us. We won Saturday, but we got outcoached Saturday. Um, and so, people may think, man, he's just being harsh. No, I'm a realist. I love the Alabama Crimson Tide. But in this game Saturday, we have matchup to matchup, talent to talent. Coaching is going to be the difference. And can Alabama, Tommy Rees, call a dual threat quarterback game for 60 minutes? If they do, Alabama can win.
Well, Martin, let's talk back about Saturday. You played in the first Alabama-Auburn game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and you often talked about how challenging and how wild that environment was. So with that kind of the construct, and then, yes, I agree with you. Alabama got outcoached. They didn't really play very well defensively. They got Malachi Moore said we got gapped in run coverage. Yeah, Justin Marshall missed a lot of his run fits. But on the opposite side, your side of the football, the offensive side, there were struggles in the red zone. If Alabama finishes their 3 drives where they settle for field goals, the game is never close. So I want to know, 1, the challenge of playing in Auburn, and 2, what was the problem finishing in the red zone? Obviously, you got the 4th and 31 miracle, so that was a red zone win. But overall, throughout the game, you don't really have a great red zone package. You settle for 3 field goals, and that ultimately keeps the game close.
I think part of it is that, first of all, it's tough to play there. It's a rivalry game, and let's just put it at that. But I think it means more to Auburn. Let's just be real. I think that the Iron Bowl means more to Auburn for many reasons. One guy said it this way. He said it's like the little brother playing against the big brother, and dad's watching, and they want to prove that they can take the blow. So they come out with a little more focus, a little more intensity, and it just means more. They have more guys who grow up watching the game. They have more guys who understand what the Iron Bowl means. And let's be real, Auburn's not a national recruiting powerhouse like Alabama, so they don't have as many guys from outside of Tuscaloosa that's going to end up staying in Alabama, that's going to end up staying here, growing here. So it means more to them.
There he is. You hear me now?
I can.
Yes, sir. Perfect. All right, we lost you right there at the in the middle of the answer where you're talking about the red zone problems with Alabama this past weekend against Auburn. Now, obviously, we heard you talk about the Auburn players recruiting more in-state talent and meaning more to the Auburn players, and thus kind of it means more to the maybe Auburn fan base. But why did Alabama have so many troubles in the red zone on Saturday?
I think it's the overall what kept that game close from an offensive standpoint, Joe, is that I think we went into that game not to get Miro hurt. And I think the play calling looked a lot like the first 6-7 games. It was up the middle. The one time we ran the ball with Miro in the red zone, it was a kind of a quarterback sweep with the lead versus him running on the bootleg. So to me, it looked like they were trying to protect him. And I think if you let Miro loose, you have the Tebow effect in the red zone. That's why we were 17 for 17 in the red zone for touchdowns going into that game, is because when you have to play a talent like Miro and you get an extra blocker, even if you don't run him, it's just the absolute threat of him running that makes you take a guy out of pass coverage. And if you don't take a guy out of pass coverage, Alabama has the numbers in the run game. So I just think it was an overall approach in the utilization of Miro that hurt us at several points. And it probably manifested itself more in the red zone than it did anywhere else, as far as consistently manifesting the lack of Miro's threat with both the run and the pass.
That's probably a good. I'll be looking for that today when I rewatch it again. I just got a couple more questions with Martin Houston, Alabama fullback right here from 89 to 92. Played in the first Alabama-Auburn game in Auburn, but also played in the very first SEC championship game. All right, so SEC championship game on deck right here, Alabama and Georgia, 4 o'clock on Saturday. Martin, what was it like when you realized, okay, we are lining up, we're winning the division, we know there's a championship game at the end for the first time? Just real quick on the first SEC championship game.
First of all, you telling all those first makes me seem really old.
No, important, not old. Important.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
But but the irony of the SEC championship game in the year before we lost to Florida, second
right.
game of the season, and we were like, man, we wish this SEC championship game was this year because we felt like we were the better team. The next year, we were undefeated and had won like 21 games in a row. And it's like, this stupid SEC game, man, we would be playing for a national title. So it's kind of all about perspective. But going into that game, it was I've never been to a Super Bowl, but in college football, it was one of the first times a championship was legitimately won at any level on the field, because before that, SEC could have a three-way tie for the title. You could you didn't beat the team on the other side to determine the champion. And even when you played in the national championship, it was a kind of a Joe. It was, hey, you play against the two teams someone else says is the best team, not really two teams that won on the field. And so that was the atmosphere that was going on in Birmingham. That this was a legit SEC championship against a team that had beat us, sort of like, the Georgia Alabama situation. We had been undefeated, since that Florida loss, and went on to win 28 games in a row after that Florida loss before the tie with LSU. So a lot of similarities in that sense, but it's a crazy atmosphere. Man, one of the best games ever. Of course, coming down to the Antonio Langham interception. And Joe, I think it changed college football. I think had we lost that game, college football wouldn't be where it is today. I think it literally set the stage for conference championships, which eventually led to BCS, which now has us where we're at now.
With that in mind, and the 28-game winning streak that Georgia brings into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, look, many people have talked about Georgia's schedule. How are they playing hard teams? Are they prepared? But they walk into Atlanta a 4.5, 5-point favorite against Alabama. How do you feel about the ball game? I know you got 4 more days to kind of nail down and settle down, but right here on a Tuesday, how do you feel about the SEC championship game?
I guess you remember that I don't like to give a prediction too early from those.
Neither do I. Everything until Friday is kind of gray area.
Yeah. But what I think, is it said Georgia breaking the 29-game win streak last week, and the fact that the last time they lost was to Alabama. To me, I hear everybody say they have a weak schedule. Well, you can only play who's on your schedule, and how do you beat them? And Georgia is a dominant football team, and they're the class and toast of the college football world right now. And we're the last team to beat them. And I think that we're the only team in the country that can beat them if we play. But we have to play. We have to play. We cannot have touchdowns called back. We cannot have pre-snap penalties. We can't have all of the things we've seen this team do prior to the little streak that they had, and some of the things that flashed on Saturday. But we can beat this team, and I feel good about that. And Joe, if I can take a second, I think Hugh Freeze. This is people say kind of interesting take. I think Hugh Freeze actually may determine the winner of this game. And I know this sounds crazy, but listen to this. Georgia and Alabama have the same defense. The same things work on both defenses. Okay. Hugh Freeze showed how to complicate or confuse the defenses in the secondary with his passing and whatever. Well, will Georgia try to implement that? Because it showed that you can get us busted on coverage. The other side of that, he also showed what you can do against both defenses if you have a running quarterback. They had 219 yards against Georgia. They had 240 against us. Which one will Alabama be able to implement that with Milroe, or will Georgia implement that with Beck? And I think that's what it comes down to, is one of them is going to have to create an edge somewhere, because the talent is similar. The talent is close. And Hugh Freeze may have given both coaches a little bit of a twist or an angle to take against the other one. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out.
Both Kirby and Coach Saban are going to be studying that Auburn tape very, very, very heavily. My last question for you, Martin Houston, is based on tonight's college football playoff rankings. There is no way they leave out an SEC champion, right? Even if it's a one-loss Alabama champion or if it's an undefeated Georgia champion, obviously they're going to go in. But there's no way the college football playoff leaves out an undefeated or a one-loss SEC champ, correct?
I would say yes, except for the fact I would say yes, except for the fact that they first of all, I think they're trying to set up some stuff and if Alabama doesn't move tonight, it's a tough road to get there. What I'm interested to see is will they love Oregon so much, and Oregon was the number 5 team without a win against a ranked team. They beat Oregon State last week. They were the only rivalry game that manhandled their opponent. Yeah. All the other rivalry games, Georgia, Alabama, Washington, Michigan, Ohio State, were all close games. Will they bump them in front of Florida State? I hope they do, because it shows that they're willing to put in one loss in front of an undefeated. Okay? And everybody has said they'll never put Alabama ahead of Texas because they defeated them. Go back and check the first poll. Texas was in front of Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
And Oklahoma beat Texas. So they've shown that they're willing to do it. The question is, will they do it? And I think Alabama against Georgia ending the streak is enough to get them in. Here's the question I have for you, Joe.
Sure.
Does a Georgia loss to Alabama make them not one of the top 4 teams in the country? See, that's
it goes back. What do we play in? Best 4 teams or most 4 deserving? Are they going to be one of the best 4 teams? Yes, they are. But I think the SEC championship game should be a playoff, Martin. I think winner is in, loser is out, and that's what it should be. But
right, and I would agree with that if the committee was consistent.
They're not consistent. They haven't been consistent over 10 years, 9 years.
Because Ohio State got in last year. Right. So, and that's what I'm saying is like what if they gave me a consistent criteria and parameters, then I would be fine with. However, the problem is you don't know week to week what they're doing, because if they're taking the best 4 teams in the final week of the season, then you have different 4 than the best team. If you look at what happened in week 2 and what happened in week 5 and who's the best 4 teams at the end of the year and has earned the right to play for a championship. I think if Alabama wins and that's the criteria, then they're in. If they have some other criteria, they're going to have to blow Georgia out, not just win.
Well, we will find out this coming Saturday on CBS, the last time SEC on CBS. And this has been Martin Houston joining us on the Joe Gaither Show. Listen to Martin Houston every weekday morning, 6 until 7 on the Martin Houston Show with his son, Xavier Houston. Make sure you check him out on Sundays at Harvest Church. And Martin, tell everybody about where they can find you at Alabama 1 and whatever else you're getting. I mean, you're all over the place. Whatever else you're getting into. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy today.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you so much for having me. Alabama 1, alabama1.org. You can go check us out there. We got some great CD rates going for both personal and business, starting 5.3 for personal and up to 5.72 for business. So great rates. We love to see you can do all that business online or stop by to one of our branch locations. And hey, Joe, I finally finished writing my book. I'll be publishing it and putting it out. It's called The Encouragement Factor. Give me one more inch. So I'll be getting more and more information out about that. Thanks for having me on,
man. When's the ballpark for it coming out? Or is it? It's not already out yet?
It is, but I'm going to I'm redoing it a little bit. But hopefully have it out before Christmas, and it'll be up on Amazon.com.
Oh, that'll be great. Sounds like a great Christmas gift for all the Alabama fans right out there, and everybody needs.
That's right. That's right. Appreciate you, Joe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Martin. Have a great week, man.
You too. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide. That's Martin Houston joining us. And make sure look, he has all kinds of avenues for you to connect with him. Whether you want to connect with him at church, you want to connect with him over Alabama football, you want to connect with him over business as well at Alabama One. He's got all kinds of avenues for you to connect with him. I really encourage you to do that. Martin Houston at Martin Houston 35 on the Twitter /X machine. We appreciate, look, all his great expertise. And I wasn't trying to make him feel old. He's very important to the Alabama family because of it. Look, the early 90s were such a pivotal time in college football. We're about to embark on another pivotal kind of time on college football with more transitions going forward. So really, really appreciate Martin Houston joining us to tell us about the SEC championship, playing down there at Auburn, the kind of progression of the season. Because I know he's kind of been a Team Milroe guy most of the year. And I appreciate his constructive criticism for the Alabama coaching staff because, yeah, they did get a little bit. Look, they didn't have the killer instinct on Saturday. Obviously, Jalen Milroe saved them with the 4th and 31, but the defense wasn't quite in the right gaps, and the offense wasn't finishing. And it's very interesting. Maybe a rewatch will confirm what Martin had to say, that maybe they were protecting Jalen Milroe from injury, trying to get him to this SEC championship game unscathed. All right, so that's going to do it for our show today. Look, we encourage you to follow at Martin Houston 35, at I am Jay Glaze on the X machine for both of our guests, Martin Houston and Josh from Dothan. You guys saw Josh from Dothan's viral video on the TikTok, and you hear Martin Houston each and every day. Look, if you like this little platform, you can find Martin on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, the same sort of way that you're watching my show right now. And if you don't hear him at 6 a.m. on Tide 109, you're like, a little too early for me. Look, you can still hear him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon, just the same sort of way the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Really, really appreciate his expertise and his time. So that's going to do it for our show today. We'll come back on a Wednesday. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll keep talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. Oh, my gosh. Is there any way that Alabama can take down the back-to-back defending champs and break the streak of 28-29 games? We'll talk about it tomorrow on the program right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral at BamaCentral.com.